You can't retire, and here's why. In order to one day be able to relax and enjoy a comfortable retirement, you put up the effort to pay attention in class, study well, land a decent job, and work hard throughout your career. That is the story, at least. It does not, however, always correspond to reality. Multiple cases exist of people who had good occupations and strict saving habits yet still had to work long into their older years. Not to mention those poor people who never enjoy the benefits of a college education or a secure job. Less than 30% of American employees are on schedule to retire at all, according to recent studies, and even fewer believe they will have a decent retirement, and they may be correct. There are many factors at play in this situation, including housing, the stock market, and a number of more general economic variables that could jeopardize our broader expectations of unending growth. It's time to understand how money functions in order to understand why all of us will continue to work until we are 120 years old. Hello there! This is the Financial Fortune, and in this video, we are going to talk about why you cannot retire. This video is not to make you hopeless, but we will explain to you how money works and what are the causes that cannot let you retire. Please don't forget to leave a like, click subscribe if you haven't already, and hit the notification bell to be notified whenever we release new videos. Housing is the clear-cut first offender. Most American employees now struggle greatly to afford a home. Although I am aware that this issue is not new, there are still a few crucial elements that are ignored. Even those with very high incomes who graduate from prestigious colleges and enter professions like finance or large tech have a tendency to relocate to cities with a high cost of living like New York, Chicago, or San Francisco. In addition, young purchasers are more likely to offer townhouses and apartments than typical detached single-family homes. It's not that they want to, but rather that they can afford to. This is a serious problem since, as most people who are financially stable will tell you, their home is their most valuable possession. This doesn't imply merely that the asset they hold is the one with the highest value. Owning a home eliminates the rental cost, and even if you are paying a mortgage, a portion of your payments will go toward increasing the value of your home. Additionally, once the mortgage is paid off, you will have a place to live with a very minimal ongoing expense. In comparison to someone who will need to stretch those payments to cover rent, someone who retires with a home means that even small retirement savings or a pension can go a very long way. One option for a homeowner who is low on funds in retirement is to downsize their primary residence, which is a luxury unavailable to someone who hasn't paid off their mortgage in full or doesn't own property at all. The debate over an affordable housing is as old as modern capitalism, but maybe it doesn't matter to you because you have plans to enjoy your retirement even without a home of your own, right? Let's test those plans. Before we continue, don't forget to like and share this video. Comment down below your thoughts and even your suggestions on what content you want us to make a video about. Now, let's talk about the stock market. The stock market is another important method by which people fund their retirement. Even fixed income pension funds ultimately depend on the expansion of these markets to give their members incomes in retirement, but this presumption of limitless returns may be in danger. Consider a straightforward example to comprehend why. At a sawmill that makes the frames for residential homes, 10 lumberjacks are at work. The lumberjacks are now only utilizing simple hand tools, but if everyone works hard and nobody takes a break, they will reach their quotas. One exceptionally clever lumberjack sets aside a portion of his earnings and uses it over time to support motorized tool research. He ultimately creates a table saw, proving that his money was wisely spent. The materials required to build 9 copies of his new invention are subsequently purchased using a little more of his saved money. He then gives his co-workers who had been utilizing those hand tools the 9 table saws. This increases their output to the point that they are still able to reach their quota, even if the first lumberjack doesn't turn up at all. Theoretically, we can sustainably fund people's retirements by doing what we refer to as capital investing. The same number of frames are produced, the other 9 lumberjacks don't have to work any longer or harder, and the original lumberjack receives a well-deserved retirement as compensation for his invention. Of course, this is a very simple example, but in reality, most people simply do the same thing using the stock market as a medium. Companies raise cash which they then invest in capital equipment that will enable their employees to produce goods and services for the economy in an effective and efficient manner. But let's return to our oversimplified example. When more of these lumberjacks have the same brilliant idea, issues start to surface. One might invest in a forklift to replace 9 men's worth of labor with just 8, and another might do the same with nail guns to replace the other 8 men's labor with just 7, and so on. However, each time this occurs, it becomes progressively more difficult to identify the next thing. You will eventually require a production line that is almost entirely automated, and even then, you will likely need at least one employee to supervise this process. The cost of replacing each human with a piece of capital rises exponentially, especially when compared to some other possible investments. Let's assume that in order to effectively retire while still making sure the lumber mill's quota is reached, Lumberjack 5 will need to invest millions of dollars in a robotic arm. He might answer, "What I'll do instead is to buy the plant and demand the other 4 employees to work an additional 10 hours a week to cover my slack while I'll leave and retire." Even though this man may not look good, consider how many hours you must put in each week at your job to pay the rent. This investment is non-productive assets, that is, in assets that don't truly help produce value, is a significant barrier. Gold, bitcoins, Pokemon cards, and of course real estate are all examples of traditional non-productive assets. Real estate, on the other hand, is peculiar because unlike these other impractical assets, it generates income without the need to be sold. Rent is used to do this. Real estate investing has been a particularly appealing investment for many people, which has two effects. It raises the price of real estate, contributing to the problem we discussed in the first part of this video, and it discourages investments in the kinds of productive assets that can sustainably fund retirements. American economist Robert J. Gordon collaborated with the National Bureau of Economic Research to publish this study. Is U.S. economic growth over? Faltering innovation confronts the 6 headwinds. But wait, have you subscribed already? If you haven't, what are you waiting for? Click the subscribe button now. Alright, let's continue. Gordon essentially contends that the innovation and economic growth of the previous 200 years were more of an anomaly than the rule we should continue to anticipate forever into the future. Gordon essentially makes the case that this generation is the 5th lumberjack, that all the simple innovations that would have dramatically increased productivity have already been developed, and that even gradual advancements going forward will either be extremely expensive or purely rent-seeking in nature. Working more to shift value around in new and creative ways than working to actually create any. Gordon stated that this would coincide with what he identified as the 6 economic headwinds, as if this pretty gloomy prognosis weren't already depressing enough. For at least the next 100 years, these forces will work to slow down economic growth all around the world. The first headwind is the disappearance of the demographic dividend, which during the 1960s and 1990s gave the economy a significant boost as more women enter the workforce. Now, the majority of women in developed nations have professional careers that are comparable to those of their male colleagues. Only by forcing people to work later and later into their lives will we ever be able to double the workforce. The decline in educational achievement, notably in the USA, is the second headwind. Education is getting more expensive, less in depth, the less relevant to what the modern workforce needs. Simply said, a 3-year degree today is not as valuable to an individual or the economy as a whole as it was 50 years ago. Rising inequality is a third headwind. It is a sensitive topic even the best of times, but Gordon was surprisingly practical in his approach. The article reported that annual income growth was generally 1.3%. However, the top 1% received the majority of that growth, with the rest 99% experiencing income growth of only about 0.75% on annual basis, even less than the rate of inflation. That means that if this trend continues, it will be unavoidable that greater and larger pools of workers just won't have the financial means to save for retirement. But if you are among the top 1%, congratulations! The impact of globalization is the fourth headwind. Theoretically, globalization should increase everyone's wealth, and in practice, it does. However, averages have outliers, and in this situation, those outliers will be national workforces who historically have enjoyed high salaries relative to the rest of the globe, such as, say, you watching. The other side of this equation is that it should equalize global salaries, which is fantastic for people in nations where earnings have generally been below the average for the world, as well as for business owners who can benefit from the pool of inexpensive labor along the way. The environment and energy are the fifth headwinds. Fossil fuels propel the past century's progress. a cheap, convenient, and very effective energy source that could power anything from cars to airliners. However, they come at a price and are a limited supply. Younger generations will now be responsible for covering this cost, either through environmental rules that reduce industrial output or through a total environmental collapse that can also slow down production. Debt is the last headwind. All three types of debt, household, public, and corporate, have been continuously increasing over time, and when they must all be repaid, either more money will need to be earned or less money will have to be spent. For the government, increasing taxes is an easy way to increase revenue, but for people and businesses, cutting spending may be their only alternative. Those regular contributions to our retirement account may wind up being given up if someone is already operating on a limited budget. I know this video may seem depressing, but this is just the reality. But look at the brighter side of it. At least now you know what are the factors that make it difficult for you to retire. As early as now, you can somehow at least prepare for it. Don't worry, we also have videos on retirement that can help you how to prepare for it. While you visit our channel, don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already and share us with your family and friends. This is a Financial Fortune, and thanks for watching.